Hello, my name is 문이선, and my student number is 1901-1773. The subject of the semester project of the data structure is Hotel Unmanned System. Here's the table of contents. First, I will outline my project and talk about the manual and the expected effects, and then explain the functions used in the project. Third, I will talk about the C language code on my project with an English written annotation. And lastly, I will show you the actual implementation of the program. Let me tell you about most existing hotel system. Customers who wish to use the hotel can make reservation directly through the Internet hotel reservation site, but check-in and check-out are required through the hotel staff. I wanted to come up with a program that allows guests to check in and check out without going through staff. Here's an overview of the program I wanted to implement. First, guests come to us the hotel. As before, hotel staff can reservation, search, check-in, and check out. Here's different from before is that you can check in and check out on your own as well as make reservation. Refers to a hotel unmanned system. Before I explain the implementation process, I'd like to talk about the type of hotel room. There are three types of room in the hotel I have implemented: VIP, suite, and standard. This is a customer structure that stores guest information. I will manage guest information using linked list. Guest information includes the name of the reservation, the number of guests, the total amount, the length of stay, and the check-in status. The following functions are available to customer. First, booking function. When guest makes a reservation, guest enters the room number by deciding guest name, number of guests, length of stay, and room type. Second is the check-in function. When guests check in, guests can check in two ways, by name or by room number. Third is the checkout function. Checkout can be done using the room number. Exceptions and precautions for reservations, check-in, and check-out will be discussed later. The hotel staff can do the following functions. In addition to the customer's ability to do what we mentioned on the previous slide, the staff can perform three more functions. First, staff can see the status of whether the current room is empty or reserved. Second, staff can see guest list of customers. When performing this function, there are two options: to view the entire guest or to view the guest in particular room. Third, there is a function to search for customers. When searching for guests, Step can search through the guest names, and Step can search through the room number. However, the employee function is only available when the employee ID and the password are entered. Now, let me give you a detailed description of the structure and the function used in the program. First of all, the structure used in the project was a guest node structure containing the guest information, a list structure that stores the guest list, and the room structure that contains the hotel room's information and the guest information using the room. I used double linked list to connect multiple guests, so there are pointer, priv, and next in the guest node structure. I also used the main menu function because I thought I needed a function to print the menu or customer information. Menu function include first greeting, menu asking if you are a manager or a guest, administrator menu, main menu containing reservation and check-in and check-out, menu showing room type to select room, and ending greeting. Next, we use the initialization function. The initialization function initializes the structure before it is used. Get rest function initializes the information to 0. And in the get list function, we created a header and a tail that represent the beginning and end of the list to connect each other. In addition, the room initialization function assigns the room number and initializes the variable that checks if the room is empty to indicate an empty state. Next is the search function. You can use your name to find the guest note, and you can enter the room number to retrieve the guest information stored in the room. When you perform the search using names, you may not be able to find names in the existing list by typing them incorrectly. To prevent this, the header was returned if it was not found, and the warning statement was printed if the header is returned. The valid function is a function that verifies that the room number entered is in the correct range. Returns 1 if entered correctly or 0 if not. The next function that I will explain are the most important addition, check-in, and the checkout function. When making a reservation, I said you would enter the name and the number of the person who made the reservation, the length of stay, and the room number. There are a lot of precautions at this time. When entering a name, the name should not overlap with other guests on the existing guest list. Therefore, the entered name should be checked for duplicate names, and if the name is duplicated, a different ID should be entered. In addition, the number of guests must be at least 1 and the maximum. The number stipulated by this hotel is 3. Therefore, we can make a reservation when the number entered is more than 0 and less than 4. The stay must be at least 1 day, And because there are long-term guests, the hotel does not have a special limit on the length of the stay. Finally, the room number you entered must be within the specified range. Therefore, I used the validation function mentioned earlier. There are many situations to consider in the check-in function. When the hotel is empty, there are no guests to check in, so we print out a warning and end the function. Otherwise, you can check in by name by room number. In both cases, a room must be reserved for check-in and check-in statement is 0. The additional name entered must be within the booking list, and the room number entered must be within the correct range. When you check out, you can only check out using your room number. As a result, the room entered must be within the correct range and can be check out after check-in. So the check-in status must be 1 and you can only check out if you are booking. As mentioned earlier, there are 3 more functions that administrators can do than customers can. Administrators can use this feature only by entering their administrator-only ID and password because they can easily get to the customer's information. The ID and the password for login are as follows, and logout is done by pressing 0 in the administrator mode menu. Let me tell you about the exception situations that can occur while running the 3 additional menus. First, you can view a second feature, a list of guests. In this function, if there are no guests at the hotel, the warning statement is printed and the function is terminated. And in this feature, you have the option to see the entire hotel guests, and you have the option to see the guests using a particular kind of room. At this time, if you see a guest using a particular type of room, you must have at least one customer using a particular room. Exception also exists in the third function, the function of finding customers. In these functions, you can inquire through the name and the room number, and in all of these cases, the information of the customer you want to find must be stored. Now, let me show you the code of the program through C language code. First of all, these are the 3 structures that I described earlier. To use double linked list, the guest node structure was declared pointer preview, prev and next, and the guest list structure was created to store the assigned guest node. Within the guest list structure, there are headers and tail representing the beginning and the end of the list. Hotel rooms are not assigned and released just because there are no guests, so we declared them in a double arrangement of structure. Calls for 3 of the 6 basic output functions. The output of these codes is as follows. Calls for the other 3. The output of this code is also as follows. Three initialization functions. The functions that need to be built in particular are the initialization function, which assigns to the list itself, and the headers that represent the beginning of the guest list, and the tail that represents the end of the list, also allocate space. In the beginning, there is no list yet, so connect the header and the tail to each other using next and pre. And in this program, I designed standard room 1 as suite room 2 and VIP room 3. Two search functions. The lab function returns the guest address by entering a name to see if the name entered and the name of the guest list are the same. If the name you want to find does not exist, return the address of the header to see if the information you want to find are available. The function on the right finds a room by entering a name. Use the repeating statement to tour the room and return the address of the room. It is a function that shows whether the room is reserved or not. If a room is reserved, print X instead of number to indicate it. It is a function that can only be used by a manager to print out a list of guests. As described earlier, there are many things to consider, so the code is a bit long. Here's the output for the prompt light. The lower light function is a function that determines whether the range of room numbers entered is correct and the output using 1 and 0. The function on the right is the function that outputs the entered information when you make a reservation to verify that it is correct. The left function is function that outputs guest information by entering a name to find that node and room number. Similar to the previous slide, this time it is a function of printing guest information by entering the room number. On the left, you can see that the check-in status varies depending on whether you check in or not as a result of the showing function in output. Code for adding a guest node. As described in the slide that described in function, I use an infinite loop for the exception situation to create code in the form of leaving the infinite loop when not included in the exception. Enter the customer name, number, length of stay, and type of room according to the format, then verify that the information entered is correct. If not correct, enter the guest name again, and if correct, add the node you created to the guest list. Adding nodes from the double linked list is illustrated in the lower right corner. TMP points to the next node, which I want to put it and connects as shown to at the node. The exception mentioned above were solved by using an infinite loop to exit an infinite loop if not an exception. Code for deleting node performing checkout. When checking out, check whether the room is already checked in or reserved. Also, you will only enter the room number, so make sure that the room entered is in the correct range. Deleting the nodes when all conditions that can be checked out are met. In the picture I drew in the lower right corner, TMP points to the node to be deleted. Change the connection and delete the TMP as shown below. This is the main function. Invoke the above-mentioned functions by dividing the cases in the main function, and entering the administrator's ID and password is also performed in the main function. Code in the main function for when you are an administrator. I executed the code described above. The slide is an output of the right reservation. The slide is if it does not conform to the prescribed format. When checking correctly. When checking incorrectly. Delete function. Manage mode. It is also manage mode. Thank you for listening to my presentation so far.